Okay, welcome back. We are going to continue our study of Daniel chapter 7. And this is actually part 3, should be the final part of Daniel chapter 7. And we're continuing where we left off, talking about the judgment scene and the kingdom being given to Messiah. So let's start off with that. Let's look at Daniel chapter 2, just as a quick review. Daniel chapter 2. As you recall, of course, we saw Nebuchadnezzar had a dream of a great image. Daniel also was revealed. This dream was revealed to him. Shabbat shalom, Loma. This dream was revealed to Daniel, and Daniel was relating what Nebuchadnezzar dreamt to him, as well as giving him the interpretation of the dream that he saw. And so, part of that dream that Nebuchadnezzar saw involved the establishment of a kingdom. And let's take a look at Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, beginning at verse 34. Daniel 2, beginning at verse 34. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon its feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Then later on, he interpreted that part of the dream along with the other part, and he told him, Daniel chapter 2, verse 44, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. The kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Shabbat shalom. It shall stand forever. So this is Messiah's kingdom, which we saw him receiving in Daniel chapter 7, and which he has at this time, as I'm speaking to you, he has already received. He has already received his kingdom. It was given to him. Remember, look at this, Daniel chapter 7. Notice what we said. We saw this. Daniel chapter 7, beginning at verse 9 and going down to verse 14. Daniel chapter 7, which we also read about in Revelation 4 and 5, just also in the last section. Daniel chapter 7, beginning at verse 9 and going down to verse 14. I beheld, Daniel said, till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. And they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away. His kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed. It is the coming kingdom of the Messiah. It has already been given to him from the Father. We saw that when we saw the sixth seal. Remember, we saw the sixth seal, and we saw that the sixth seal, and I'm going to show you that by the grace of the Most High as we get to Daniel chapter 9. But I'm telling you that the sixth seal was open in 1844. The sixth seal was open in 1844. And Messiah was ready, the Father was ready to send him back at that time. And remember, we said, okay, if the Eidos is the true Israelite, where was the Eidos in 1844? Where was the Eidos? What was their situation in 1844? They were in chains. They were enslaved. They were in oppression. Okay. And so the whole preparation of the kingdom is prepared. The only thing missing The only thing the Father is preparing right now is the 144,000. These last 100 and what is it, 166 years, 176 years that we have been through already, these last 176 years have been a battle whereby our Satan is establishing his beast and at the same time trying to do his best to oppress, to harass, to destroy Yah's chosen 144,000. He's been doing his best. Have you noticed this we talked about in the beginning of the last segment, just by reason of observation? Did you notice the way things changed, historically speaking, culturally speaking, from like the 1940s to the 1960s? Did you notice the cultural change that took place? Like in 1954, there was a Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board of Education, where it was declared that separate but equal was unconstitutional, because first it was a lie in the beginning. We were separate, but we were never equal. So they struck it down. Okay. At that same time, there began to be civil unrest in Montgomery, Alabama, where a woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat for a Caucasian man. And then there was a protest that took place in the 1950s in Birmingham, in Montgomery, Alabama. Oh, no, Montgomery. It was Montgomery, Alabama. Now, all of that was planned. And then after that, you see a change in the music. The music went from like a Jimmy Dorsey and Billie Holiday and it went from that type of music to from Nat King Cole. All of a sudden, you got Little Richard, completely different. Bop, bop, a doo, bop, bop, bang, boom. You got all that, right? You had the Beatles. You had Elvis Presley. All of a sudden, it changed. You went from conservative dress, like straight leg pants and cut hair, to wild colors and Quaaludes and marijuana and excess and heroin and cocaine. A lot of it coming from Vietnam. There was a change in the culture, a tremendous shift. You think that was accidental? Does not the devil know what time it is? It's a shift because he knows the 144,000 at that time were beginning to be developed on the scene. Okay? Then you had a setup. What was the setup? There was a lot of setups, but one of the setups was Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act and putting urban renewal, and they created housing, low-income housing. Remember that? The low-income housing, nice, clean places, affordable. Black people mostly, and poor white people too, moved into those places and they can afford to live, and they were clean and they were new. And over the time, what happened? They became called the projects. They became called the hood. Things changed. And they tried to make it act like the devil would do. Try to make it act as if it's because of the people that moved in there. But they didn't tell you that they stopped city services from coming to those areas. They didn't tell you that insurance companies would not insure those areas. They did not tell you that people could not buy houses in those areas. And those people that were fortunate enough to save their money and be able to buy, they wouldn't let them buy if they were people of color. They didn't tell you that they were sending heroin and cocaine from Central America into those places. They didn't tell you that the government was dropping off crates of guns into those areas. They didn't tell you all that. That they redlined the areas and created the neighborhoods like that. They didn't tell you that unemployment was 3 times higher for a black man than for a Caucasian man. They didn't tell you that. They didn't tell you that they were now not renewing new books every year in the schools, and that they weren't paying the teachers the same. They didn't tell you that. And then the result was seen. projects, hoods were created. That's why the Bible says, I want to show you something. Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18, talking about the great whore and the system of the beast that we're now in. Revelation chapter 18. Let me show you what it says here. Revelation chapter 18. I'm going to start at verse 20. And I'm going to go down to verse 24 of Revelation 18, with the emphasis being on verse 24. Watch what it says. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for Yah hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. The voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her, that is in Babylon, was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Why is he saying the blood of all is on her hands? Because this whole system is created by her. See, that's what people want to ignore, that don't want the truth. I mentioned that this past Wednesday in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a group of young people with guns, black people, shot up people that were inside a funeral home. Didn't kill any of them. They were all hurt, shot, but they survived. 7 people were shot in the funeral home. And a bunch of people were crying out, see, where Black Lives Matter at? Huh? It's black on black crime. It's not white people. It's black people killing each other. But what they willfully, ignorantly forget is the city that created that system, where those young people had the guns, where they were so desperate that they're killing each other over drug territory, was created by Babylon, was created by this government. The United States of America created that system. And they are going to be held guilty. Just as guilty as the people that pull the trigger, the government system is held guilty. And those that support the system is going to be guilty. Because in her, we found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. That's why this whole system is going to be destroyed. It's going to be annihilated. It's not going to last. The whole system is going to be overthrown. People waiting for white Jesus to come, and they're waiting, and they're thinking he's just going to secretly cause them to disappear and go into the sky. They don't realize he's coming to make war. He is not coming in peace. Revelation chapter 19. Revelation chapter 19, verse 11. See, people don't want to read the Bible. They really don't. Because if they did want to read the Bible, they'd see the truth. Revelation 19, verse 11 and 12. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him is called Faithful and True. And watch this. And in righteousness he does judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. He's not coming in peace. He's coming to make war. And it's going to be the last war. That's Armageddon right there. That is Armageddon. It's not a war in the Middle East between these world powers that are trying to vie for oil. No, it's Messiah that's going to come and overthrow this system and bring in an everlasting kingdom of righteousness which will never be destroyed. Where people will not be fighting over oil or dollar bills, where people will not be desperate and placed in red line districts where there's fire and there's guns and there's killing, where there'll be no more unemployment, where there'll be no more disease, and most of all, there'll be no more lies or liars. Most of all. That's what's coming. And what he's doing now, he's preparing 144,000. 144,000 are the last chosen witnesses of Yah's righteousness. The last chosen witnesses of Yah's righteousness. See, the apostles were chosen witnesses. They told the scribes and Pharisees, we can but help us speak the things which we have seen and heard. They were witnesses to the Messiah. They were witnesses to Messiah as he lived. They ate with him. They talked with him. They were witnesses that he had come. They were witnesses that he raised a man from the dead. They bore witness. Even Judas was there when Lazarus was raised from the dead, as he had already been in the tomb, as his body was already decaying. They were witnesses. And they bore witness of Messiah. And they bore witness of the true gospel. And the true gospel is not Jesus saves. That's not the gospel. We read the gospel. The gospel is the power of the Father through the Messiah to reveal the righteousness of the Father. That's the gospel. That the righteousness of the Father is revealed in Messiah. And that is what they bore witness of. The 144,000 are the last chosen witnesses of this earth to bear witness to the earth of the Father's righteousness in Messiah. The last ones. And just like the first apostles, the 12, they were all Israelites of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So this 144,000 are Israelites of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they're going to bear witness to this false system that has false religion, that has a false Israelite nation, that has false people trying to claim to be Israelites and are not, but the synagogue of Satan. They're going to bear witness of the lies of this system, that there's no Republican or Democrat or capitalist or socialist that can save you. That all of these churches are lies. All of them. They're going to be the last witnesses. And they're going to receive power from the Father to bear witness. That's what's going on. Now we go back to Daniel chapter 7. We started off there. We stopped there. And we saw the judgment scene that was being talked about. How the Messiah was getting a kingdom. Let's continue from right there. Beginning at verse 13. Daniel chapter 7, beginning at verse 13. Daniel 7, verse 13 and 14. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. We already said this has already taken place. If you notice, this took place in the kingdom of heaven. This already took place in the third heaven. Father has already given Messiah this earth to be his. It's academic now what happens later. Okay, he was already supposed to come. He's letting us know everything is prepared. All things are ready. The only thing is being prepared right now is the 144,000 on the earth. Joe Biden spoke at Al Smith dinner just this past week, and he's letting everybody know it's all in place. The only thing left is the 144,000, and they're being prepared. They're not on television. They're not televised. They're not famous. They're not celebrities. You never heard of them. They might be living right next to you. One thing they have in common, though, they're Israelites, true Israelites, bloodline Israelites. They're seekers of truth. They're not seekers of religion. They're not following crowds. They stand alone on principle. They seek to bring glory to the Father alone. And they trust in his word alone. They're not looking for crowds. They're not looking for money, just truth. And that's how you can tell who they're not. Whenever you hear somebody of religious persuasion asking you for money, you can know right now they're not the 144,000. 144,000 don't care about Caesar's money. Most of them are poor, just like the apostles. Okay? Just seeking truth. And they're not going to be popular. But when that power comes from the Most High, you're going to know it. Everybody's going to know it because it's going to agitate the whole planet. They're not in one place. As the Israelites have been prophesied to be scattered, the 144,000 are scattered into the four corners of the earth. And you will know when you hear that message because people are going to be hearing it on the street level. And it's going to bother them. You see, brothers and sisters, when Messiah spoke, either you surrendered to him or you wanted to kill him. The scribes and Pharisees wanted to kill him. Herod wanted to kill him. When they heard him speak, they wanted to kill him. And they sent people to arrest him. The leadership, the religious leadership, his own brothers, sent people with authority that they had received from Rome to arrest him. This wasn't the time he was in the garden either. That happened then too. What happened before that? They sent people to arrest him. And the people that came to arrest him, when they were arresting him, he was speaking. He was speaking to a crowd. And when they heard him speak, they forgot all about their assignment. And they came back. And the Pharisees said, "Where is he? How come you didn't arrest him?" And all they could say was, "Never a man spake like this man." That's all they could say. Because they heard the power of the Father's Spirit in his words. And they were arrested. They were arrested. That's why when they did arrest him finally, it was in the middle of the night. It was in the middle of the night when they arrested Messiah. They arrested him like midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, when everybody else was asleep. And by the time the people came for the Passover feast in Jerusalem, the next morning, he was already hung up on the cross. It was 9 a.m. He was already up there. Already hung up there. They wanted to do it so before anybody knew. Before he had a chance to speak, before anybody could rescue him. But they didn't understand. He allowed it. He said, "I lay my life down. No man takes my life from me. I lay it down. I lay it down for my sheep. I lay it down and I take it up again." And this is what he said. He said, "This power I have received from my Father." Brothers and sisters, I said before, I'll say it again. You were not born. You did not choose to be born where you were born. You did not choose who your parents are. You did not choose to be whatever color you are, whatever nationality you are. You did not choose that. That was given to you. But I tell you this, the Father knew that you would be born in this time. He knew and he ordained that you were going to be born now. We are into the last generation. We're in the last time. This is it. We got about 7 years before it all starts to come off. Big time. Right? And it's leading up to it right now. Some people think we may not even make it 7 years to where this thing is going. And we may not. But it's going 7 years. 2027 is the next Jubilee. 2027. That's the next Jubilee. And I'm telling you, that's the last Jubilee before the kingdom. That's the last one. Jubilee is every 50th year in the 7th month, in the 10th day of the month. Right now, we're in the biblical 7th month. That's where we are right now. Right now, we're in the 5th day of the Feast of Tabernacles. Right now. Messiah is going to come at a time like this. He's going to return in the autumn during the Feast of Tabernacles. I don't know what year. It may be 2027, maybe before that, maybe after that. I will tell you this, though. It's not going far past that. If it goes past 2027, I'm telling you 5 years is the limit. So I'm saying 12 years total. 5 years is the limit. He's not going to go past that. Okay? This is the time of the year, the Feast of the Tabernacles. And this is the time of the year, the ingathering of the harvest. And this is when Messiah is going to return. So we don't have that much time left. It's coming, brethren, very quickly. And all he's doing right now is preparing us for that time. It's going to come a day very shortly when money won't matter, job won't matter, nothing's going to matter. There's going to come a time when some plagues are going to begin to hit this earth that man cannot control. It's going to hurt everybody. And people are going to be losing it. And you might say, people are already losing it. Yup. All we're seeing right now is beginning, though. Only those that are sealed in the Father's Spirit are going to make it through. And that is a great minority. Daniel chapter 7. So Daniel had seen the 4 beasts. Then he saw the little horn. Then he saw the judgment scene. And now he's overwhelmed by what he has seen. Daniel chapter 7, verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit and in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. So he saw all these things and he was grieved. It was overwhelming to him. And it would make sense that it would be overwhelming to him. As to why it would be overwhelming, because you're seeing he became a captive in the Babylonian kingdom. He already saw that there would be a successive of 4 great kingdoms. He saw that. Then he saw this little horn power that rose up. What is he not seeing? Is he's not seeing Israel. He's not seeing Israel. He was grieved. And he's going to be grieved some more. When we get to chapter 8, you're going to see him grieve some more. See, Israel is to the point, as we saw. Remember what he said in Deuteronomy chapter 32? I'm going to scatter them all over the earth. I'm going to make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. That's what you got right now. So you got these Ashkenazis faking like they're Israelites, and they're not. They're not bloodline of Abraham. They're not related to him. They're not even Semites. And they got you thinking that if you say something against it, you are anti-Semitic, which is ridiculous because they're not Semites. They are Yafet. They're Europeans. They come from Ashkenaz. That's Yafet. But they have deceived the earth. And the true Israelites, the ones that were in chains, that come off slave ships, they're thinking, they got you thinking, oh, these niggas ain't no Israelites. That's what they got people thinking. And it's exactly the opposite. Isn't that how the Most High does it? Completely opposite to the way man thinks. That's how he does it. So now you got Daniel being grieved in his spirit about things that he saw bothered him. Verse 16. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me to know the interpretation of the things. One of them that stood by. I need you to understand this. When Daniel received visions in chapter 7 and in chapter 8 and in chapter 9 and in chapter 10, which chapter 10 is actually chapter 10, 11, and 12. All 10, 11, and 12 in Daniel is one vision. Okay? It's broken up by chapter numbers, but it's one vision. And so in all of these visions, when Daniel's receiving these visions, what we must understand is there are angels around him. And there's Gabriel usually explaining to him what is going on. But there are angels, like I said, one of them that stood by. Remember the order. Father, it says the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. That's the order. Father gives the message to Messiah. Messiah gives the message to a messenger, which is an angel. The angel brings, with the power of Father Spirit given him from Messiah, the angel brings that message in the Spirit to the servant. And the servant proclaims the message either in writing and or by voice. He proclaims the message. Okay? So when Daniel's receiving this message, he's receiving it at the hand of an angel. Now, the difference with Daniel, as you're going to see, is Messiah is there. He's there, but he's telling Gabriel, explain to this man what's going on. You're going to see that in chapter 8. You're going to see that in chapter 10. You're going to see it in chapter 12. Messiah is there, but he's not saying anything. Gabriel is doing the talking. Okay? He's telling Gabriel, explain to this man. Okay? That's what's going on. So here, Daniel is he's seeing this vision, and he asked one of the angels that stood by, he asked him, what is this? Show me what's going on. Okay? And the angels begin to tell him, okay, Daniel, you're a servant of the Most High. You've been chosen as a prophet. I'm going to show you, because this is for you to share. Okay? Daniel chapter 7, verse 16 and 17. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth, or kingdoms. Okay. Verse 18. Watch this. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. So the angel is assuring Daniel, no matter what you see, no matter how bad it looks, at the end of the day, the saints are going to take the kingdom. The saints are going to possess the kingdom. Who are the saints? Let me tell you who they're not. They're not Roman Catholic statues and Christians that have been canonized by that church. That's not saints. Let me tell you who they're not. They're not Christians in the 501c3 Christian denomination. No, they're not. That's not them. Who is the saints? Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus chapter 25. I'm going to read verse 55, then I'm going to go into chapter 26. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 55. But unto me, the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your Most High. Who are the saints? The Israelites. They are the servants of the Most High. Okay? Again, same chapter 26. And this is talking about the situation that we find ourselves in right now. It's written back by Moses in Leviticus. Notice what it says. Leviticus chapter 26, beginning at verse 33. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbath, as long as it lieth desolate, and ye shall be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbath. As long as it lieth desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbath when you dwelt upon it. And upon them that are alive, that are left alive of you, I will send a faintness into your hearts in the lands of your enemies. And the sound of a shaken leaf shall chase them. And they shall flee as fleeing from a sword. And they shall fall when none pursue. And they shall fall one upon another, as it were before a sword, when none pursue. And ye shall have no power to stand before your enemies. And ye shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquities in your enemies' land. And also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them. If they confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers, with their trespass which they trespassed against me, and that also they have walked contrary unto me, and that I also have walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies. If then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled, and they then accept the punishment of their iniquity, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. The land also shall be left of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbath while she lieth desolate without them. And they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquities, because they despised my judgments, and because their soul abhorred my statutes. And yet, for all of that, when they be in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away. Neither will I abhor them to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. For I am Yahweh, their most high. But I will, for their sakes, remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen, that I might be their God. I am Yahweh. These are the statutes and judgments and laws which Yahweh made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses. We are in our enemy's land. We're scattered in all our enemy's land. We don't own no land. We don't own nothing. We don't own no factories. We don't own no television stations. We don't own nothing, because we're in our enemy's land. It's all good though, because now is the time. Now he says, I'm going to remember my covenant if they confess their iniquities. The confessions have already started. Israelites are already acknowledging their sins and the sins of our fathers. Israelites are already confessing in the name of the Messiah, Yahushua, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Israelites are already awakening as to how we got here and how we're going to get out. It's already started. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing on the earth. You're seeing a revival of white supremacy. You're seeing an exaltation of white privilege. It's not just the United States. It's happening in Germany. It's happening in France. It's happening in Italy. It's happening in the UK. It's a European thing happening everywhere. You're seeing a revival, a renewal of it. Why? Because they're scared. Because when he said before, we will not have any power to stand before our enemies, as now we are now confessing, he's given us power. The power is coming, and nobody can stop it, because it's not of man, it's of the Creator. And nobody can stop it. And for the last 2,000 years, the European man, who is the son of Japhet, Noah's third son, Sem, Ham, and Japhet, he's been running things. And he has begun to believe that he has been running things because he's just smarter, because he's just stronger, because he's just chosen. And what he's now finding out is that is false. He was running things because he was permitted by the Creator to do it until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. And the fulfillment is upon us. So it's not going to be because we have any money. See, don't listen to these so-called black leaders that are here telling you we need to start businesses and create wealth. Anything having to do with this system is going to be destroyed. Anything. What we need, brethren, is repentance and righteousness, because that will bring us Father's Spirit. And let me tell you, there is no power that the devil has. There's no power that any Bilderberg has, that any Pope has, that can overthrow the Spirit of an eternal Father. The spirit of eternal Father wakes people from the dead. The spirit of eternal Father can cause a brother to walk on water. There is no money that could buy that. You cannot earn it. It's given to those chosen, repentant ones. Daniel chapter 7. So Daniel was grieved, and he asked the angel, and the angel told him there's 4 kings that's going to rise out of the earth, but the saints, Daniel, are going to end up with the kingdom. The saints going to get it. So he continues. The angel continues talking to him. Daniel chapter 7, beginning again at verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stomped the residue of the feet with his feet. Daniel wanted to know about that 4th one, the one that you couldn't even describe except it had 10 horns and then a little horn. He wanted to know all about that one because that was the main one. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, I beheld, and the same horn, that is the little horn, made war with the saints and prevailed against them, the saints being the Israelites. The horn was at war with the Israelites. How? Let's think about this for a second. A little bit of history that I'm sure everybody's aware of. When the Israelite people were taken from West Africa, I know a lot of the Caucasians like to express this. Well, it's their own people that sold them to us. That's because you're ignorant. Did not Joseph's brothers sell him to the Ishmaelites who sold him to Egypt? That's not a problem. That has happened. So yes, some of us sold each other, but what happened? The Portuguese came and bought some of us, bought a lot of us, and mostly brought us to the land that's now called Brazil. The Portuguese were under the authority of Rome. The Dutch came, and they went down into what we know to be South Africa and changed the name to Afrikaner. Africa is not the original name of that land. A British man gave it that name, Africa. It wasn't that wasn't the original name. It was Kush. Ethiopia, which you call Ethiopia, was Kush. So they gave him, he took that African name, he went down to South Africa, and he took over. And he got authority from Rome. The Portuguese and the Dutch wasn't the only ones. Then the English came, and they took what's now Benin and Togo and Ghana and Nigeria, and they took slaves and brought them to the lands of Jamaica and brought them to the lands of the islands like Trinidad and Tobago. And they came at the permission of the king, who had permission from Rome. Not just them. The Spaniards came, and they took slaves and brought them to the lands that's now Colombia, and brought them to Central America and to Boricua, which is now Puerto Rico. And they got permission from their king, who got permission from Rome. Then came the French, and they went to what's now Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire, and they took the ivory, and they took the gold, and they had slaves, and they took them into their colonies, and they got permission from their king, who got permission from Rome. The little horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Daniel chapter 7, beginning at verse 21. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. How long would they prevail against us? Bible will answer that question in Daniel 8 and 9. But he says here, he tells you until what? Until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. What does that mean? What we just read earlier, when the Ancient of Days sat and he gave a kingdom to Messiah, he said that's the limit right there. We're already past the limit. We're already past the limit. Okay, until the judgment was given to the saints of the Most High and the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom, that is where we live. Already been done. It's just academics now. The seal of the 144,000 that bear witness to the earth, to the heathen of the earth, that bear witness of the Father's righteousness, that make a call to their brethren to come out from these systems. Okay, already started. We're already here. Ancient of Days did sit. He gave the kingdom to his son already. It's academic now. Okay. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We talked about this. Babylon controlled what we call now the Middle East. It was based in what we call now Iraq, and it controlled Asia Minor and what we call the Middle East, and going into what was Egypt and Pathros and Cush on the eastern part of Africa, what is now called Africa. Then came after them the Medes and the Persians, and they expanded the kingdom a little further. Then came after them Alexander the Great, and he expanded it into what's now Greece and southern Europe and parts of Eastern Europe, and then all the other lands that was controlled prior to that by the Medes and the Persians. They control all of that. Greece went into India, went into what is now Afghanistan, went into what is now Pakistan, went into all of those places and controlled them. And then went, of course, into Kemet, which is now called Egypt, which is now, they had the capital city, it used to be Kemet, is now Alexandria. That was Alexander the Great, the Yefet. Then came Rome and took all of that. He took all of that, and then he transformed from a military and political power to now he transformed to Christianity and a religious power. And from that power, he took over the entire planet, from Eastern China all the way to Western United States, and everything from the North Pole all the way to the South Pole with Christianity, everything. The whole earth. That's why I said to you, after Vatican I and Vatican II, they're not worried about you calling yourself Jehovah's Witness or Mormon or Baptist or Muslim or Buddhist. They're not worried about any of that, because through their orders of the Jesuits, through their infiltration over the last 500 years that was planned, they control all of that. They control the Congresses. They control the courts. They control the presidents. All. See, look at your current situation. This is not something that, people don't realize. This is an example. I'm about to tell you is an example of things happening right in front of your face. They're doing it right in front of your face, and you don't notice it. It's right in front of you. Let me give you an example. They got everybody fighting between liberals and conservatives. I got a knucklehead son, and he's all into this conservative tip. And I keep telling him, stop being a fool. You're being used. You don't understand. Maybe it's because of my own son. And, I'm so hard on him with this. But I'm saying, you're being a sucker. You're being played. You're being a coon. And you don't want to hear it. Because I'm telling you, well, that's all liberals. I said, you're an idiot. They're liberal and conservative is a smokescreen. President Trump just appointed, or should I say nominated, a judge, Amy Garrett, to take the place of a judge that just died in the Supreme Court. Okay? The judge that just died on the Supreme Court was an Ashkenazi Jew. The judge that he's appointed to take her place is a Roman Catholic, a Roman charismatic Catholic. So that before the judge died, the Jewish one, There were 6 Roman Catholics and 3 Ashkenazis on the most powerful court in the world. Then now he just appointed another Roman Catholic. So there's going to be 7 Roman Catholics and 2 Ashkenazis. See, they got you thinking in terms of liberal and conservative. It's a Roman Catholic takeover. And they're working with the Ashkenazis. The Ashkenazis are the money people for Rome. Why do you think the Ashkenazis run the central bank? All of the leaders of any leader of the central bank is an Ashkenazi. They're always Ashkenazi. Greenberg, Greenspan, whoever it was, Yeltsin, whoever the ones that run that bank is always Ashkenazi, the leaders. Always. And don't matter what color they are either. Clarence Thomas is on the Supreme Court. He's a staunch Jesuit-trained Roman Catholic. That don't matter. They control not just our court, they control courts all over the world, central banks all over the world. They have infiltrated every nation, every religion. It says it here. It says, we just read it. Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, shall devour the whole earth, shall tread it down and break it in pieces. That's what you got. When you say break it in pieces and tread it down and stomp it, it's not just that. Divide it up. Divide it up among them. 10 divisions. There were 7. That's why the little horn came up. But then when the little horn got established, he wants that 10 back again. But he wants to run it. Okay? And that's what he's doing. And that's what he's going to do. Okay? You're going to have a one world system. And the people that are not a part of that system are going to stick out like a sore thumb. That's what you got. The people that are going to follow the Most High, as things get darker, it's going to be more stark. The difference is going to be more stark. And I tell you, I studied, and I'm honest, you study the history of the Holocaust. This thing, the Ashkenazi try to make it as if, they're the only ones that ever suffer something like this, when 100 million of us have been murdered over the last 2,000 years. They're concerned with 6 million of them, but that's another story. But study how it was done, because how it was done is how they're doing this whole thing. I want you to understand, when Hitler came to power, he was backed by the Roman Catholic Church, and he was backed by the Ashkenazis on Wall Street. Brown Brothers Harriman was one of the biggest firms on Wall Street, and they backed Hitler. All of those stamps they were putting on the Jews in the concentration camps, they were IBM stamps. They were IBM. This wasn't just Hitler in Germany. This was planned. The Balfour Agreement promised them Ashkenazis land that didn't belong to them. There's a game going on. Okay? And so how did they do it? Hitler was not he was in a minority. It was a small party, the Nazi party. It was called National Socialist Party. It was a small party, and it grew, and to the point where they had most of the guns, and they threatened the leaders in the parliament, like with death. And so the leaders were voting for Hitler. They didn't want to. They were scared. Okay? Because Hitler and them had developed a gang. They got money, and they got guns. Where'd they get that from? So that they had the brown shirts. Then he became chancellor, and then he went, and when he became chancellor, he became the dictator. He had them vote him in to become the leader. And then the Nazi party became the National Party of Germany. And this is where it gets interesting. This is how they're going to do it. The Nazi party became the National Party. And what happened is that if you were not with the Nazi party, you were looked upon with suspicion. So that your neighbors were a part of the Nazi party, and they said, you're going to vote with the Nazis this year? And if you didn't say anything, they said, oh, you are part of the Nazi party, right? And now it's not going to be just a political party, even though it's going to be. It's not going to be Republican or Democrat. It's going to be religions involved. Religions involved. I'll give you another example. Years ago, I used to do health seminars. I used to do seminars on health. I used to be a raw vegan. If you've never heard of raw vegan, for many years, I lived just on raw fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. I did it for a number of years. Okay. I stopped doing it since, but I used to do that. And I used to give seminars on raw veganism. Okay. And so I was invited to speak at different churches on this subject. So I met some people and they wanted me to come to their church. And I don't know, I think it was a Baptist church somewhere in Southern Virginia. And the people said to me, we've told our pastor about you. We told you got to contact him and set a date. So I called the pastor. Pastor said to me, what church are you a member of? Now, at that time, the Most High was moving me to this present truth about the Israelites, but I wasn't there yet. But at that time in my journey, I had left the SDA church. I was no longer a member of the SDA church. I was no longer calling myself a member of any church. I was seeking for myself. So I told him, I said, I'm independent. Independent, he said. Well, what church do you go to? I said, no, I said, when we have church and people that believed like me, I said, we home church. We worship at home. People come to my house and we study. He said, that's not a church. He said, I don't care what church it is. He said, but you need to join a church and then I'll let you come here. He said, if you don't join any church, he said, I don't care if it's SDA, Jehovah's Witness, one of them. He said, you need to join one and then we'll let you come. See? That's what it is, brothers and sisters. You're going to have to be in one of the established religions that are already controlled by Rome. And all of the organized religions are already controlled by Rome. They don't care which one you choose, as long as you choose one. And if you're a religious person, in other words, you're walking around one of these and you're teaching it, and you're not in one of the established religions, then now you're on a list. You're on a list. In fact, you're on a couple of lists. One of those lists that you're on is a terrorist list because you have what they call hate speech. It's going to get worse because the 144,000 message is going to be heard. And when it is, people are going to ask, who are these people? What church do they go to? What religion are they? Do you remember why officially Messiah was put to death? You know why officially he was put to death? Think about it. Why was he officially put to death? He was put to death by the Romans, turned over to the Romans by his brethren. His brethren accused him of what? Treason. What was the treason? He said he was a king. And they said to the Romans, this man claimed to be a king. And we have no king but Caesar. And so Pilate questioned him and said, are you a king? And Messiah said, for this, he said, my kingdom is not of this world. He said, so you are a king then. And at the end, they put him to death for treason and claiming to be a king. That's why over the tree that he was crucified on, they had in Latin and in Greek and in Hebrew, here is Yahushua, the King of the Jews. Because he was put to death because of treason. And we're going to be threatened with death because of treason. Not that we're against this country, but we have a government that's above the earthly governments. We're going to have a king. I'm telling you, a king is coming to overthrow all of these governments. The Bible just showed us that. That is going to be treason. You combine that with the plagues that's going to be falling, and you can see this is going to be quite an interesting situation. Quite an interesting situation. And it's coming rapidly. He shall devour the whole earth and tread it down and break it to pieces. Brethren, this is already here. This is already here. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. What makes him different? Because as of the 10 kings or 10 divisions of the Roman Empire, like you have your kings and your governors, that's political, right? Like every state in the United States has a governor that's political. The governor is not a head of any church. He's a governor. He's political. He keeps the laws of the land. You understand? But this little horn is not just political. He's religious. And he hates the truth. And he wants to persecute the saints who are a threat to his kingdom. And the dragon gives him power and seat and great authority because the dragon knows who the true Israelites are. And he deceives this whole world and he treads it down and he controls it. All the business of this earth, all the corporations of this earth, Wall Street, Hollywood, the media, newscasters, they're all controlled, brethren. They're all under control. You got now conservative media like Fox News and liberal media like MSNBC and in between like CNN. You got all of that and they're all lying and they're all controlling the minds of those that are listening to them and believing what they say. You got churches that are all under control. I don't care what denomination it is. They're all under control. And they're all worshiping man. And they all bow to Rome. That's why I say, I don't care what religion you're in. You're a Roman Catholic. Doesn't matter what you believe. If you're in one of these systems, you can call yourself a Mormon if you want to. You can wave all the Joseph Smith books you want. You're a Roman Catholic. You can look at every Ellen White book you want. You're a Roman Catholic. You can speak in all the blah, 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 blah tongues you want. Pentecostal, you're a Roman Catholic. You can bow to that stone in Saudi Arabia 5 times a day. You're a Roman Catholic. He shall subdue the whole earth and tread it down and break it in pieces. It's already here. It's not coming. It's here. The only thing that's coming is the 144,000, followed by Messiah. And it's going to happen very rapidly. You're going to see it. This next few years, like I said, it's going to make your head spin. Just look at this year. Look at 2020. Look at what has happened in 2020. Has it not been a wild ride and we're not even done yet? More crazier things are going to come. More crazier things are going to happen. So it's not done. And this is just 2020. This is just the kickoff. It's got 7 years. Okay, it's just the kickoff. Verse 24, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings. And he, that is the religious power coming out of Rome, he shall speak great words against the Most High. Why would it say Rome speaks against the Most High? Think about it. The Most High has a covenant. He has a chosen people, only one chosen people, Israel. And yet this man claims to be a pope, a father, above all the fathers, above the Bible, above the covenant of Yah, above his chosen people. This man says he's the Holy Father. This man has a bunch of people he calls archbishops, priests. And the Most High has chosen the Levitical priesthood. Blasphemy. This man say there's a holy mother of Mary. Seriously? Most High never said that. Mary was no holy mother. Blasphemy. Any man-made religious institution is a new God. I know I'm saying stuff that's blowing y'all up. Any man-made religious institution is a new God. And they're all ultimately Roman Catholic. He shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. How does he do that? Times is years. Thinks to change years. How does he change years? Most people get confused and think, this Gregorian calendar, because it's the Gregorian calendar, doesn't keep time right. No, it keeps time accurate. It's just been changed in terms of the season. The Most High said the spring is the beginning of the year. Now that makes sense, doesn't it? when trees begin to bud. That's how he begins the year. That's the new year for the Most High. But Rome says New Year is in January, in the middle of the winter. See? Things to change years. That's times. Okay, that's times. It's the same. People say, well, the days are off. No, the days are not off. How do I know the days are not off? How do you know the days are off? When you think about it, you'll realize. If, for example, the earth did not revolve around the sun 365 and a quarter days, if it did not, if that was completely off, right? Listen, if it was completely off, what you would find one year, all of a sudden it would be snowing in July. Because if it was off, your seasons would become off. But the seasons are not off. You got the summer solstice at the right time in June. You got the winter one at the right time in December. You got the equinox in the spring and you got the equinox in the fall. That keeps everything in line. It is 365 and a quarter. But they've named it after Roman gods. They've changed the time. Okay? Now, the Hebrew calendar is going to end up, and I did it, if you take the way the Hebrew calendar is supposed to go over a 7-year period, and you compare it to the Gregorian calendar, they're going to come out with the same number of days. Okay? That's no problem. But they named it after heathen gods, Augustus, January, July. You understand? That's what makes it wrong. They think to change times, years, and laws. What law? What laws do they think to change? Obviously, the covenant of Yah, the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. He tells the Israelites. That's between him and the Israelites. He got us worshiping. The Bible said we in our enemy's land and we're worshiping all our enemies' gods. That's what is happening. That's what's going on. We worship all our enemies' gods. Not new. Nope. Now, how long would this go on for? Verse 25. He shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the things of the Most High, and shall think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. This is very deep because it's twofold in its meaning. Time is 1 year. Times is 2 years, which makes 3. And the dividing of time is half a year. Let's call this like that. 3.5. 3.5 years. It's not only a literal 3.5 years, which we're coming up on. Not only that, it's 1,260 days, which is 1,260 years, which is when they received the deadly wound. 1798. That was a sign of the end of their authority. They don't, 1,260 years. They think they got it back in 1929 with Mussolini. The Most High ain't thinking about that because in 1844, he already gave the kingdom to his son. And now he's just preparing 144,000. That's it. That's all that's left. We're going to go over that in Daniel chapter 9. But that's all that's left. Okay? It's academic at this point. So he's going on, the devil's going on doing his thing, establishing his 500-year plan, making it all together, putting it all together, but he's held up from completing everything he wants to complete because of the 4 angels that's holding back the 4 winds that Revelation 7 talks about. He's stopped from doing anything more that he wants to do until we're sealed. Okay? So he's causing all kind of ruckus. But right now is the wake-up call for the Israelites. That's what's going on now. It's a wake-up call. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Aubrey Ahmed, all of these and more are wake-up calls. That's what they are. They're wake-up call. The hurricane that hit Puerto Rico a couple of years ago real hard and destroyed it, and then the president throwing toilet paper at her. Wake-up call. That's what it is. You see, brethren, there were actually 10 plagues that hit Egypt, ancient Egypt. When our brethren were there enslaved, there were 10 plagues that hit them. The first 3 plagues, The first three hit everybody. The first three hit everybody. The last seven only hit the Egyptians. The first three, why did it hit everybody? Wake up call. Wake up call to the Israelites. That's what it was. A wake up call. And when they got woken up, the last seven just hit the Egyptians. Okay? And that's what you're getting now. You're getting a wake up call. George Floyd's a wake up call. Okay? Ahmaud Arbery's a wake up call. Breonna Taylor's a wake up call. Okay? All of these are wake up calls for us. See, not depending on no Black Lives Matter or not marching on no Washington asking Caesar for redress. It's not going to happen. But it's wake up call for us who are aware of what things I'm talking about so that we can get back to our Father. We can acknowledge our sins and the sins of our Father and come back to our Father God, the Most High Yah, the only true God, understanding who we are and how we got here and how we're getting out. Daniel chapter 7. So there is going to be a 3.5-year period. It's in the sixth seal of Revelation. We're going to talk about that. It's in the sixth seal, 3.5-year period, 1,260 days. It's coming. Not here yet, but it's coming very shortly. Okay? Very shortly. We're going to talk about that. But verse 27, verse 26 and 27, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. That's what was given to Messiah. Remember, it was given to Messiah from the Father. All kingdoms, all nations, all languages are going to serve him because it's been already given to him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed me, but I kept the matter in my heart. Yes. Yes. You understand? Brothers and sisters. It's academic. Like I said, it's already decided. The only thing that's left to decide is what role are we playing in these last movements. That's the only thing that's left to be decided. We're going to show what role we play by who we choose to worship, by who we choose to serve, by what we're listening to, by what truth we're following. We're going to show. See, in the days of Messiah, when he was there with the disciples, the apostles who became later apostles, they were first disciples, and there was more than 12 at first. He knew who Judas was. He knew exactly who Judas did not surprise Messiah. He knew exactly who he was. Have not I chosen you 12 and one of you is a devil, he told him. He knew who Judas was. Okay? He said, I'm going to wash your feet with this water, and you're going to be all clean, but not all, because he already knew who Judas was. See, didn't surprise him. So it was going to happen. That's what he said. He said, hey, offenses must needs come, but woe unto that man by whom they come. It would have been better for him if he had not been born. Talking about Judas. It would have been better for him if he had not been born. Because, brothers and sisters, there was going to be a Judas. The only question was who it was going to be. There was going to be a traitor. It was prophesied. There was going to be a traitor. The only question was who was going to be the traitor. Okay? There's going to be traitors now. There's going to be people that work for Rome. There's going to be infiltrators now. It's all happening right now. The only question is who among us is going to receive the seal of the Father? This ain't got nothing to do with your money. This ain't got nothing to do with nobody's church, denomination, or camp. Who among us is going to receive the seal of the Father? That's what it comes down to. Ain't got nothing to do with nothing else but that. Because he's not having liars in the kingdom. And he's going to be able to differentiate those that trust in him and that trust in Asatan. It's going to come down to it. Only going to be two camps. And Asatan ain't got tail and pitchfork. He's just appealing to the flesh of people. Money, prestige, power. People that want to, we call them bandwagon fans in basketball. Whoever's winning, that's their favorite team. That's what you're going to have, a lot of that. They're going to see the power and the money and the armies with Asatan's people, and they're going to join forces with them. But we're going to see past that. We're going to see in the spirit to the Father's kingdom. That's way more than what they got. And we're going to stand with him, even though we are outnumbered on this earth. It's all good. It's all good. brothers and sisters. It's here. Here we are. We got a little bit more time of relative peace, even though there's a lot of people that ain't got no peace because you see what's going on out here, fires and hurricanes and tornadoes and marches and murders in the street. You see what's going on, sex trade and child pornography. You see what's happening, corruption in the government. You see what's going on. It's getting ready to get worse. It's already here. The question is, what side of history and prophecy are you and I going to be on? And I pray that you and I are on the right side of history, that you and I are on the right side of prophecy, that we're with the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that no matter how many is against us, it don't matter. If they take away everything from us, they cannot take away his spirit, his seal upon us. May we give him glory by obedience to the covenant. And may he bless you, and not just you, your loved ones, the ones you love, you and your house. May he bless you. May he guide you in truth and light for his name's sake. May you be his servant. Amen.